This Saturday on DR Sports, we've got a massive watch-along. It's the comeback fight with Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin.
Can AJ revive his career, or will this be his early retirement?
We're hoping not. Join us on Saturday with the team and check out the big watch-along here on DR Sports.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another AFTV Live in conjunction with AFTV FANZONE. Now today, joining me, a man who has very quickly developed a reputation as being amongst the most well-received and knowledgeable influencers on AFTV. He also has his own channel, the 12-Man Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please give a big digital round of applause for Mr. Dan Potts in the house. What are you saying, bro?
Man, what an introduction.
Hey, man.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that, bro. Good to see you. Good to be back.
Good to see you as always, bro.
I'm looking forward to football being back, man.
Absolutely. This is what this show is all about, man. The Premier League is back. Arsenal are back. We're back in business and looking forward to it. But before we start, as I was saying in your introduction there, you're a man that's quickly developed a reputation for yourself as being very knowledgeable and very, how can I put it, very articulate and you come across very well. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel, the 12-Man Podcast.
I appreciate that, Laurie. I appreciate that. Some would say, some would not say, I imagine. But thank you for the compliments, my friend.
It's heartfelt, bro.
Thank you, mate. Yes, I've started my own channel now. I'm on Football's 12-Man Podcast. If you do want to come and follow me, please do. It'd be amazing. They're up to 8K now. That's been going well. We started it towards the start of this season, I suppose. So we're about 8 months in now or so. So that's going well, and got some good guests on there. It's all football as well. I do enough Arsenal content on here and with lead judges and stuff. So I wanted to start my own thing and get that going, and it's been well received and good. And I think what's nice for me is I get to talk about other clubs as well. Yeah. And what I love about it is that there's always good banter, because no matter what happens, there's always something that's happened on that weekend to talk about, and that's what's been quite good. And there's times where I think with Arsenal, when it's going well, you want to talk about it forever. And I was getting to a stage over the last few years where I didn't want to talk about it anymore because it was so down in the dumps. But this season's been incredible. So it's been going well, and I love coming on here. I love talking football, and I love talking Arsenal in particular, man. So I'm just glad the internationals are over and we can start getting back.
I remember I first met you outside Arsenal a few years back now, and tuned into some of your fan cams. Then lo and behold, you've been doing some work with us at the studios, and I've always enjoyed your company, always enjoyed what you got to say, and put the check in the post.
Yeah, that's it, man. I was gonna say, listen, I love it, brother, and I always enjoy coming on here, man. I love everyone, man. And I get on so well with all of you, and I appreciate the compliments, man.
No worries, indeed. It's heartfelt, as I said before. Right now, with all the pleasantries out the way, let's get down to business. Now, as we know, the international break is now over, and I'm pretty sure, Dan, you like myself can't wait for the Premier League to return, which it does this weekend. But before we even discuss that, we got some great news today. Arsenal dominating the awards for this month in the Premier League, scooping up the Player of the Month, Bukayo Saka, and the Manager of the Month, Mikel Arteta. His fourth one this season. Bukayo Saka, his first one of the season. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well deserved, Laurie. I mean, let's start with the manager. You know, I don't think people have given him enough credit, actually, if I'm honest with you, this season. I think sometimes it's always been about when Arsenal are going to bottle it. Is Arteta going to do this? It's actually, let's be real, no one expected him to get anywhere near a title. For me, you have to look at it and say fair play to everything that he's done, because he's definitely proved a lot of football fans wrong, Arsenal fans wrong, including myself. I weren't quite sure that he was going to take us ever to a title, when he's done it the season after I said that it would never happen. So for me, you know, I've been proven completely and utterly wrong, and that's what football's about, man. Changing opinions, making sure that you can say to, look, I don't like what you've said there, I'm going to prove that I am the guy to do it. And I absolutely love that for what he's done. I think Arsene Wenger, if I'm right in saying, had 4 Manager of the Months in the Invincible season. Mikel Arteta's now got 4 already. You know, let's hope that they don't go sour towards April or May, and he can pick up another couple, because that means we're heading towards the league title. And I do think what Mikel Arteta needs credit for is not just the performances on the pitch, it's everything he's done off the pitch. Because I've always given him credit for stuff for off the pitch stuff, but on the pitch I haven't always been too happy and given him too much encouragement from that. But when I see what I see on the pitch, it's all been down to everything he did off of it, in terms of removing all of the culture, the toxic atmosphere that we had previously under Wenger and Emery. He picked up a toxic club, to be fair, some would say. And he's done it within a couple of seasons, removed all of those players he didn't think fit in, and the players he brought in, more importantly, have fitted that mould. So I think he deserves a hell of a lot of credit there, because we're now starting to see what he did hard work-wise on that pitch. And as for Saka, I mean, I'm starting to run out of superlatives for the kid, bro. I really am. I think the guy is unreal.
Absolutely.
I think in his position at the moment, he is one of the best in the world. I don't think there's anybody that would deny the fact that he would walk into a 1-2-11 right now on form and he would be the right winger.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because we had Frank Hastings on the show earlier in the week. I did a live show with him. Shout out to Frank. I know he'll be watching. And he describes Saka currently on form as the best right winger in the world on current form. And I must say, when he got the award today, when I heard about it, I was a little surprised when I checked and found out that it was his first one of the season.
I think what Bukayo Saka's doing is he's showing consistency, and people are now looking at him saying, oh yeah, it's Saka again, but have you seen so-and-so? It's wrong. We should be saying, have you seen Saka? Because what Saka's doing at 21 is incredible. And there's not just him this season that's been fantastic for Arsenal, but he's that focal point. Everything that Saka comes with at the moment is what, again, the off-the-pitch stuff. Everyone loves him, Laurie. And how many Arsenal players over the years have gone, oh, he's good, but I hate him. I hate him because he's good. I don't know many neutral fans that look at Saka and say, don't like him. They all love him. And I think the England international stuff, he's doing it for club and country now. Big up to Gareth Southgate, by the way, because he has put trust in him and he has kept him in that side. And I believe Saka needs credit for that as well, because I think he's made himself undroppable. You know, and I said it on Forever Arsenal. I think if we look back at the Arsenal careers of all the players that have come through the academy, he will come out on top. And we've had unbelievable players. Ashley Cole, Tony Adams, Rocky, Merce, the list can go on. There's something about this kid that looks special, and I'm not so sure that we had the special category in the others. I think this guy is absolutely stunning. You know, Tony Adams will always be remembered as Mr. Arsenal. Ashley Cole, he didn't end great, but what a player. He was world class in his position. I think we're going to look at Saka in a few years' time and think, yeah, he's the best we've had come through the academy. I really believe that, man.
You know what? I can't really disagree with anything you say there. Absolutely concur. Also, your thoughts on Arteta. Because I've got to say this, I've said it on these shows before, but I think it's necessary for me to reiterate. I was not his biggest fan, and I had my reservations as to how well he would do this season. And to see the way he's, when I say turn things around, the way the club has grown over the past couple of seasons has been phenomenal, really. So I've got to tip my hat, man, and you know what I mean, and show him his respect.
There's a lot of people that were in that boat, and
I don't mind admitting that I was one of them. I wasn't one of those that was saying sack him if we get to Christmas and things wrong. You know what I mean? I weren't one of them, because I'm not really that knee jerk. However, you know, there was the 2 8th place finishes, the way we sort of discombobulated towards the end of last season. So for me, it was this season you got to show me. You know what I mean? And he's certainly done that. He certainly has.
Listen, I'm not. I can't sit there and say that I wasn't saying it, because I was saying it. I had enough of it. I don't like 8th and 5th when I'm an Arsenal fan. That to me is an underachievement. But let's be real. It was justifiable for people to have question marks and concerns. When you're coming 8th and 5th, for me, you've got to ask the question, is he the right man for the job? And those that were saying no, there's nothing against saying no to that. What is it? What there is? What I won't have is Arsenal fans that don't want to be wrong, that will sit there and say, "I'm still not sure about him." How you can't be sure about him now after this season? He's put us in a title race. That's what I wanted. You know, I didn't have us in a title race. I had us in top 4, and I don't celebrate top 4. It's not something I've ever popped the champagne for, because that for me is what we sat Wenger for, because he couldn't take us to a title. So I'm not going to get excited last season if we would have nicked top 4 on the last day. I will get excited for a title race. Even if we don't win this title, it will disappoint me. I'll be gutted, Laurie. But I'm not going to point at him. He's overachieving at the moment for me. He's been superb.
Agreed. Before we go any further, just going to read out a super chat from Elite Afsal. He says, do you guys reckon 7 wins out of the last 10 is enough to win the league? Just a quick one on that. I personally do think so, given that we're
7 out of 10. Yeah, I do. Because, I mean, I do if it's one of them's at the Etihad. I think that's done. But
that's a good point, actually. If one of those 7 are at the Etihad, then you've killed 2 birds with one stone.
I think that's the best way to answer it, because if one of them is at the Etihad, we've won the league. Honestly, we have. And you know, I don't really get fixated on this whole Anfield and Etihad. We could win those 2 games and still lose the league. Yeah. Those banana skins along the way. And Brighton at home is one of them. Newcastle away could be another. Chelsea at home, people think it's a given because of the way they're playing. They're desperate for points, mate. And then you've got all the guys that are fighting between 12th and 20th, like Forest, like Wolves, like West Ham away. These are very, very tough games, man. So it's 10 cup finals, bro. It really is.
It is, man. I think it was Saka that coined that expression, but a lot of people are using it, and it does have some validity, definitely. So, okay then. So we talked about Saka and Arteta getting their awards, bringing it more closer to home. This game tomorrow, we got 10 games left, as we said. No distractions, no Europa League to worry about. Maybe that is a blessing, yeah?
Well, a lot of people are saying that. Listen, I love trophies, Laurie, so I'm never going to start getting excited when we being out of them. But if it means that we're going to win this title, and it meant that staying in Europe, it could have distracted us, then let's just go win that title now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like you. I was disappointed to go out of the Europa League. I was actually watching the game from my hotel room in Dubai, because I was in Dubai at the time. Disappointed, but you know what it is. It is what it is, as they say. We lost the game. We move on. The Premier League is most definitely the priority, so that's what we've got to focus on. So the game tomorrow, coming out of the international break, we do have some injury concerns that I just want to touch on. The obvious one is Saliba. We've been told today that he's out with this back injury. Are you concerned about that?
I am, because I think he's been a key player. I really do. I look at what he's done this season and it has been absolutely amazing. I knew he was a good player. I looked at him at France, believe it or not, when we were linked with him, and I started to look and thought him and Fofana's partnership at St Etienne was superb. And then he obviously had a couple of seasons at France where he was in team of the year. And I think he has been one of the main reasons as to why Arsenal's defensive record has been so much better. And I like Ben White at centre-back with Gabriel, but I don't think the partnership was quite as strong as it has been this season. And I think with Saliba being out for a couple of games, we can get by. I think Rob Holding's performance against Palace was good enough. But long-term, Laurie, it does worry me if he's out for the most of the season. And there's not really been anything said about it, and I'm not sure if that's good or bad news. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if it was good news, they would know by now that, listen, he might be out for a bit, but he is going to be okay towards the last 5-6 games of the season. It's not looking good from what I'm hearing, but listen, it could be.
Well, first we heard it was a back injury, and now I think you was talking about it earlier off air, and you was talking about there's a possible other injury as well. Do you like to divulge any?
Well, I mean, I never know what to believe in. I haven't got any ITKs. I don't really believe in them, if I'm honest. But I do listen to what people have been saying about Saliba, because it's a key concern for me. And they're saying that it might be a hamstring, from what I'm hearing. So he came off definitely holding his back. So maybe there was some form of back spasm involved with it. But now apparently it's been scans and it's a hamstring and all this I'm hearing. But I don't want to quote that, because it might not be. I really don't know at the moment why it's been keeping so quiet, and I can only think that it's not going to be great news. So I hope. Well,
you can understand the club being a bit circumspect and not want to give too much away. But we're hoping that it's not going to be out for too long. One thing I would say about Rob Holding, listen, he's not the most glamorous of centre halves, and you know what I mean, he has his shortcomings. However, I would say he will never let the club down. He's not blessed with a lot of pace. He's not blessed, dare I say it, with a lot of natural ability in the same way as Saliba is. And you're right when you mentioned earlier about the partnership with him and Gabriel has been outstanding. One of the best central pairings in the Premier League this season, without any shadow of a doubt. So to ask Rob Holding to step in and to, you know what I mean, get that partnership the way it was with Saliba is unlikely, or it's going to take a while. But I do think that Rob Holding will come in and do a job. He does know his limitations. I think they might have to tinker with the way they play somewhat. What do you think?
Well, there's two things to this. The first thing is he deserves to play, because I thought when he came on at Sporting Lisbon in the home game, he actually played really well.
Yeah.
I think that then allowed him to start against Palace with the confidence to have a good game, which he did. I think everything in the air he won. And I thought on the ball he was really good as well. And Rob Holding, like you say, he's going to give 110%. But sometimes the quality does shine through and he does get caught out. But what I'll say, Laurie, is if you think back to when he has made those mistakes, and there's been some horrendous ones, don't get me wrong, he's been surrounded by a B team. He's been surrounded by Cedric's at right back. El Neni's in front of him. He's had players like Lokonga and Tavares. I think what Rob Holding needs is the players around him right now. And I think Ben White helps that. I think Gabriel's partnership helps that. And I think the way that Thomas Partey has anchored that midfield this season also helps that. And I think that if you was to put somebody like Rob Holding into that first 11 and don't make too many other changes, like 4 or 5 more, I think we might see a Rob Holding that will be okay for this game. My question marks will be if we have to play him for the rest of the season, because we know that he isn't quite, well, he's not Saliba, but he's not the player that we would want there as the first name in the team sheet. And I think he would probably admit that and be okay with that. He's been quite an honest player, Rob Holding.
Yeah.
He's never been one to knock on the door and say, why aren't I getting in this first team? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
similar to El Nene, isn't it? It's a similar
very
type of
similar,
situation.
very honest.
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever told the fans or the manager that I'm a Tony Adams or a Patrick Vieira. They've always been quite honest about the way that they are a part of this squad, and we need players like that. But when he does come in, there was a good point I made on my show last night with a couple of the Man City fans. I had Daps and Huey on, and they said, look, we've had this before. We had to bring in players like Fabian Delph at left back to win us a title. We had to bring in players over the last few, like the Gonda ones that have come in, that don't start but have come in and been a part of the squad. Now the difference with that is they're bringing on Laporte. They're not bringing on Rob Holding. However, I get their point. We need to use our squad to win this title. Absolutely. And if you think about it, we've done it already. Jesus got injured, Eddie come in and he's
I was going to say, I was going to quote that as an example with Jesus when he unfortunately got injured, and a lot of people were looking at it as doom and gloom situation. To be fair, the team covered that situation very well. I mean, Eddie come into the team, he got us a few goals, and we kind of shared the goals around, and we got over it. And I'm expecting a similar situation to. Or
Jorginho as well.
Yeah,
Jorginho scored that absolute screamer against Villa.
He did.
And if Partey was in, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Yeah. So sometimes you do look at the squad, and Reece Nelson's another example. He's come on for Bournemouth, and it's amazing, isn't it, that some of the big goals last minute have all come from the squad players: Eddie, Jorginho, and of course Reece Nelson. So if Rob Holding comes in, I'm okay with it against Leeds. It just depends on how long Saliba's out for.
Yeah. Okay, Thomas Partey, he's another one. He may have picked up a knock during the international break. I noticed he didn't play in Ghana's second game for Angola, so they sat him out of that game. But I'm thinking that he's going to be okay for tomorrow. Yeah,
key player, absolute key player for me. If we was to pick one we can't afford, it would be him for me. I think personally that he's going to be okay. I think it was a precaution thing, the second game.
Sounds like it was. Yeah.
Sounds like he'd felt something and thought, look, I'm in a title race here, I need to get back to my club in one piece. It's mad that we're sending doctors out to Ghana with him. I mean, if there's the term wrap him in cotton wool, it's pretty much that, isn't it? He's so key, Laurie, moving forward for me. And I think that when you look at what Thomas Partey brings in that midfield, when one of those pieces of the puzzle is out, one of Xhaka, Partey or Ødegaard, it's not quite the same. Yeah. With Jorginho or Vieira in there, for me, it's not quite the same midfield. And there's nothing wrong with either of those players. I'm not slating either.
Again, we're getting by.
We're getting by with it, and it's worked so far to get us to this stage. But that trio, I mean, it's facts. When that trio plays, we do not lose. Yeah. We haven't lost a game yet when that trio plays. Because when he was out, when Partey's not on that pitch, we've lost to Everton when he weren't on the pitch. Man United, he weren't fit for it. Obviously, Manchester City, he weren't playing for it. They're the 3 games we've lost. He hasn't played any of them. So for me, when that midfield plays, we've got a great chance. And I pray with all my might that he is fit for the rest of the season. Because I want to play Man City with Jesus and Partey in that side. Because it ain't happened the whole of this season yet. We've played them twice already. So that's what we need, man. Keeping him fit is key.
Definitely, yeah. He's a key player. And I think you're right. I think he'll be okay for tomorrow. I think it was precautionary. And so, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to him taking the field tomorrow. Got to ask you, Kieran Tierney. There was some talk about him struggling with a knock. Apparently, virtue of a tackle by Cancelo. Sorry, Rodri.
Yeah, not the first time he's tried to hack one of our players, is it?
I see my Martin Ødegaard.
I mean, it was poor. It's really poor, actually. When you look at what he's trying to do there, it's clear and obvious. He's going for 2 players there that he's.
You think it was there? You think it was some intent?
It can't be coincidental, can it? You know, he's gone for 2 players, one of them being Ødegaard, one of them being Tierney. Who do they both play for?
Yeah.
The team that he's fighting. And Rodri's got that in him, innit? He's got that kind of shithousery, hasn't he, where he'll go in some. And listen, he's a quality player, Rodri, but he's got that nasty streak in him.
It's interesting, he also managed to upset Scotland, didn't he, after that game with some comments.
Their style of football or something?
Yeah, he called the football rubbish and he accused them of provoking Spain, and he said that they were time wasting, all sorts of things. The grass was too long. He had a lot to say, basically.
Sounds like a bad loser to me.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it sounds.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, no one likes losing, trust me, but that is a poor excuse if you're going to lose a game of football that the grass was too long and they play boring football. Listen, I hope he's okay. He's one of my favourite players, Kieran Tierney. I'm actually quite gutted we haven't seen enough of him this season. Next season, if he stays, and I've got everything crossed that he will, he'll play more football because we're in 4 competitions, and in Champions League football looks like it's going to be.
Do you think he will stay though? Because there's a lot of talk. I speak to a lot of people, and they seem to suggest that Tierney might think to himself, well, you know, I'm not being able to force myself in the first team, especially with Scotland on the, you know, I mean, the way they've started in the Euros qualifiers, you know, I mean, there's a good chance that they might get to the Euros, and he might be thinking, to secure my international place, I've got to be playing regular first team football.
Listen, there's 2 players that worry me if they do leave. One of them is Tierney and the other one's Balogun, because I'd like to see Balogun in an Arsenal shirt. If we are going to think about him, I think a loan deal would be good in England, somewhere like Palace, Wolves, Brighton, where he's going to play. But Kieran Tierney, he's going to be interested in him. There's going to be interest in him. Newcastle apparently really want him. I love the kid, man. I love everything about him.
I'm a big fan of Tierney as well.
I think he epitomises what Arsenal Football Club need, and that's...
We need to do everything we can to encourage him to stay.
I agree.
And even if that's giving him more game time, then so be it as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was my call for captain. Having looked at things now, Ødegaard was absolutely the right call. But what I love about what Tierney is about is he's got winning mentality, and people laugh because it's over in Scotland, but he's won titles over there. He's got a winning mentality which has been brought over to England. He's professional. He's kept his mouth shut in interviews when he could have quite clearly come out and said, I want to play, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And when he has said that, he says, look, I want to play, but I understand at the moment I've got to fight for my place. When they put Tomiyasu in at left back against Liverpool, it was the right thing to do tactically. He didn't cry about it. He said, look, I've been told it's tactical. I'm going to get back in this side somehow. Played in the Europa League games, played very, very well. And I think what epitomises him is his performance when he came on against Palace the other week. He came on against Palace and was brilliant. He was sharp, he was vibrant, he set up Saka's 4th goal. I love everything about this kid, and I think we need to encourage him, because if we do get rid of him, people will say, sell him, he's always injured. Well, so is Tomiyasu. We have to sell him as well. So is Thomas Partey. Do we have to sell him as well? I don't buy that. For me, you keep him, because if you sell him, Laurie, we have to spend about 40 million on replacing him.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
keep Kieran Tierney.
We need a big, strong squad where there's competition for places. That's when you get the best out of players, and that obviously enhances team performance. So it's vital that people like him stay. So yeah, absolutely agree with you on everything you said on that. Right, so okay, we looked at the possible injury concerns. This game tomorrow is potentially a difficult game against Leeds, because okay, they're kind of fighting for their lives. They're 14th in the table currently. They need the points. They've appointed a new manager recently. They've had a little bit of an upsurge in form, but they also have injury concerns. We're hearing that Nonto's out, the forward. Defender Max Wober's out. Tyler Adams, midfielder, American international, good player. So yeah, they will come and they will give it a go, even though they're missing 3 of their better players. Are you optimistic?
I am. I can't sit there and lie to you and say that I don't want to play Leeds without Nonto and Adams and Wober. But what I will say is that Javi Gracia, I think, is probably going to be the only Leeds manager of the last couple that we've seen, Bielsa and Marsh, that will come and play a low block. Because I think he knows that if he comes toe-to-toe with Arsenal and tries to play football, we will win. So for me, if you look at the last few seasons against Leeds, there's been like 5-6 goals at the Emirates. 4-2s I can remember quite a few times. So I don't think we're going to see a Leeds that comes out fighting in terms of playing football. I think they're going to come out fighting to do one thing and one thing only, and that's try and take a point out of this game. And
I would tend to agree. They're just 3 points off the relegation places. They've won 6 so far, drawn 8, but lost 13. So they're in a perilous position. But they're going to come to Arsenal, and avoid defeat will be their primary aim, I would have thought. So we're going to have a lot of the ball.
Listen, we're used to a lot of the ball.
Yeah.
And it's how, let's look at the teams that have taken points off of Arsenal this season. Southampton, they didn't come to play football. Right, we should have beaten them, but VAR didn't go away that time, and to be fair, it has throughout other parts of the season. Newcastle, did Eddie Howe come to play football at the Emirates? No. They had 43 minutes of the game that was actually played because it was out the pitch most of the time, or people were down rolling around the floor. They took points off us. So I'm going to go through those teams and say that there's only Manchester United and Manchester City so far taken points off of City who actually tried to play football, because Everton didn't either. So I think if Leeds look at that, they'll look at that blueprint and go, right, we need to do what Newcastle and Everton did. We need to let them have the ball and be in the low block and ensure that we don't make any mistakes, and we'll try and take as much as we can and as many points as we can off of them. So it's going to be difficult. It ain't going to be a nice easy win. I think we've got too much for them, and I think those players being out is key. I'm a massive fan of Nonto. I think he looks top quality, man. He really does. He's quite out there. As I'm kind of saying, head and shoulders above the rest of that Leeds side. I really believe he's
does
top
stand
quality.
out, I've got to admit.
He does. And Tyler Adams is an absolute workhorse, mate. He don't stop running. So they're going to miss him. But they've got other players that can affect us, man. You know, Patrick Bamford's no muppet, is he? And you've got Jack Harrison on the wing, who's always going to be dangerous. So they're going to play with that in mind. And it isn't going to be a walk in the park, this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. But one thing I would say, though, I don't want to hear after tomorrow, whatever happens, about people complaining about Leeds' style of football. Because to me, it's obvious what's going to happen tomorrow. Me and you have both said it. We're going to get a lot of the ball. They're not going to want to come and be expansive. They're fighting for their lives. I would even argue whether they're expecting to win. They're not expecting to win. They're just hoping they don't get beat. And I think the tactics will reflect that. So I think that we are going to have to be proactive. We're going to need to try and break them down. So please, fans, don't be calling in here tomorrow and saying, complaining about Leeds' style of play. It is what it is. We know what they're going to do. It's up to us to come up with solutions to put that to rest. What do you think?
Listen, I'm with you 100%. You'll get those that complain. Everyone wants to see pretty football, but it doesn't work like that. You know, Leeds
we don't want no Rodri type complaints about Leeds football. It's up to us. In other words, what I'm saying, it's up to us to go to the Emirates tomorrow. When I say go, this is our ground, obviously, but we need to be on it.
Don't
break
allow
them down.
Don't allow that to be a big
don't give them any false confidence.
Exactly. Don't allow us to have to make those excuses after
Put
the
it
game.
on them from the start. Start fast. You know what I mean? Go at them. Do our thing. If we get a goal early, they might implode. But we do need to go for it.
That's what we've done this season at home, is we've tried to go through, and we have scored a lot of early goals, and that has sometimes killed it off. I think it's going to be difficult to get that first goal, but I do think we'll get it. And once we do get it, I think we'll see they've then got to come out, because they've got to take something out of this game. If we go 1-0 up early, then I think we've got them in the position we want them. And it could be a few goals from that position. Said the same against Palace. Palace are in that situation where they needed something, because they were looking like they were flirting with relegation, and to be fair, still do. So it's going to be similar to that. We need to come out firing. But listen, Javi Gracia
come out smoking.
Yeah, come out like exactly that. And I think Javi Gracia is going to come, and his way of football under Leeds, from what I've seen, is defend first. And we haven't seen that with Bielsa. Bielsa just didn't defend at all. You know what I'm saying? And Jesse Marsch was similar in terms of the way he wanted to try and play. So I think we're going to see a Leeds team that's going to come out fighting for those reasons. And I think they will use that blueprint of who has taken points off of Arsenal and try and implement that for this game.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. What do you make of the super chat we got here from D. Prendy? He says, thoughts on our chances on Leeds given our poor form immediately after Manager of the Month awards. We lost, drawn each one this season. Is there anything you make from that? I must admit,
that's a stat.
It may be a stat, it may be factual, but I can't see that affecting tomorrow, to be honest.
No, I think if we were going to Anfield tomorrow, then that would be the one people are talking about as tricky. But this one is a good game, in my opinion, to come back to, because I feel like they're a team that, with their injury problems at home, if we can't beat Leeds without two of their best players at home, then people will start to question our title race. I
like that term you use. It's a good game for us. And that's exactly how we look at it. I mean, without being disrespectful to Leeds in any way, we're at home tomorrow. We're the top of the league, 8 points clear. We're flying, as we said before, Dan, scooping up awards all over the place. Players in form. I'm expecting Arsenal to do a number on Leeds tomorrow. I'm not saying we're going to go and thrash them 3-4-5-0, but I am, confident, to say the least, that we'll get a win tomorrow. You with me on that?
Yeah, listen, I'm with you, and I'm optimistic about it. I do think that we're going to get to a stage we'll be very happy after this game. I'm not going to sit there and say that I'm arrogant enough to believe that we're going to wipe the floor with them half-heartedly. But I will say that I am confident with it. And listen, there's a lot that can happen in this Man City-Liverpool game to make this an even more. Because I said this on Forever Arsenal with Turkish and Lee. I said, if Man City drop points, does this make it even more nerve-wracking for Arsenal going into the Leeds game? And I think it probably does, because we know that we could even stretch that gap to double points. It's crazy to think that, but we could. So, yeah, let's see what happens in that game. We've got to concentrate on what Arsenal do, not on what Man City do, of course. But there's no Gooner that can sit there and look me in the eye and said they're not going to look at that result and what could happen. Everybody will. Game, so it's about.
But one thing I would say in terms of the way Arsenal are dealing with pressure this season is that invariably they've coped very well. Even when we've had games like the Everton loss and one or two games like that, they've bounced back very well. Yeah. So that fills me with confidence. So yeah, I'm encouraged about it, man. People out there, it's a fan zone show, as we said. So please ring up. The Premier League is back tomorrow, and we got 10 games to go. Myself and Dan are just chopping it up, talking about the game tomorrow, and look slightly ahead and seeing what's in front of us. We're optimistic. Hopefully you are too. Give us your thoughts on what we're talking about at the moment, man. I would love to hear what you guys got to say. Right, so let me mention something else. So a lot of people are talking about April as being the make or break month. Myself and you were talking about it off camera a little while back. 6 games in April, starting with the game against Leeds tomorrow, April the 1st, April Fool's Day. I hope that doesn't come back to bite us in the bum. But yeah, so just looking at that April month, we got tomorrow, as we said, Leeds at home. The following week, April the 9th, Liverpool away. West Ham, week after that, away from home. April the 21st, Southampton at home. April the 26th, the big one, Man City away from home. And on April the 29th, Chelsea at home. So that's 6 games in the space of a month. Quite challenging, I would say. What do you think, just looking at that landscape? 6 games in a month, April.
Make or break month, isn't it?
It is.
Win those 6 games and I believe the title will be ours. So when you say it like that, it sounds simple, don't it? Because some of those games are not simple. Let me tell you that, Laurie. Even starting with Leeds, we've talked about how we think they're going to come out and make it hard for us. Some of those teams are fighting.
The City one's an obvious one, but there are a couple of other games. I mean, let's talk very briefly, because we're not going to go in depth in this game. But that Liverpool away game is a big challenge, and I would say the West Ham away. I mean, that's difficult.
Fighting for their lives, isn't they?
Yeah, because as you said, they're fighting for their lives. They need the points, and West Ham. I'm not going to say it's a fortress, but on their day, when
they can cause problems.
When things align, they can be a very difficult opponent at their own place.
Yeah, and they're the ones that stick. Do you know what? It's mad, isn't it? Because they all stick out because they're all so important this time. And, if you was going for a different thing, let's say we were trying to scrape in the top 6 or top 4 here, the obvious ones would stand out, and it'd probably be the other way around. It'd probably be the ones that stand out and not the Liverpool and City, because you'd probably write them off and say, look, we're not playing well enough to beat them. But we are. I mean, we are. It is an understatement. I've said all along that I think we'll beat Liverpool at Anfield, because I feel like we've passed most of the tests. It's another hurdle to overcome. And I do stand by that, because I think defensively they're really inconsistent, and their midfield I think will get dominated as long as our 3 midfielders are fit, because they've got dominated throughout most of the season in midfield, most games. Liverpool are a strange side, man. At Anfield they go and beat Man United 7-0, and then they can't beat Bournemouth, they lose 1-0. Yeah. You can't understand that club at the moment. It's mad. And having said that, I still only think they're about 3 signings away from being back next season, because they've got a real good core of players. So that one's the one that stands out. The big one is the Etihad, but I stand by this. I don't think that game proves who's going to win the title.
I would agree with you on that. I've been saying this for a long time. We don't have to go there and win.
Exactly.
To win the title. If we take care of our business in the other games, then that game is redundant. And I know that sounds, people saying, how could you say the City game's redundant? Well, what I'm saying is, if we win the other games, then we don't have to beat City. So
100. And do you know what? And I'll end on this. This is, and I honestly mean this when I say it. The next big step for what can this side do is show the fans that they know how not to lose a game. Yeah. So if we're getting dominated at Anfield with half hour to go and it's 1-1, we might not win it, but don't lose it. And we did that at Old Trafford, and it disappointed me. And actually, to be fair, we threw it away at the Etihad, at the Emirates against Man City, because we made individual errors. So for me, if you're not going to win that game, it's calm. Don't not throw it away. And I think that goes for all of those games, but particularly Anfield and the Etihad. And then we move on to May when we've got Chelsea and obviously Newcastle that are around the corner. Same goes there. If you can't win these games, do not throw them away. We can't sit and draw them all because obviously they're going to drop too many points in that way.
Absolutely.
But if it is at the Etihad and you think, do you know what, we're getting absolutely dominated here, we cannot get hold of this ball, we're going to have to shut up shop and do what we did at Anfield last season when we had 10 men, and Wolves last season we had 10 men, but with 11. And let's make sure we don't lose that game. And if we do that, I honestly think we're favourites for the title.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The game between the West Ham away and the City away is a home game against Southampton. Now, a lot of people may look at that Southampton game and think, light work. But it doesn't often play out like that. And we've seen Southampton, they're capable of, giving teams a hard time, and they've got that guy, Ward-Prowse, there. He can come up with a goal out of nothing, set piece or whatever. So they're not to be taken lightly either. And let's face it, they're going to be fighting for their lives too.
It's mad to say this, but they're a good side, and it's mad to say that because they're bottom of the league, but they are actually a good side. If you look at them, they're the youngest side, even younger than Arsenal, I believe. They've actually got the record now of being younger than Arsenal.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I believe so, unless that's changed in the last couple. But they're the youngest side in the Premier League. They've got some very good, talented players. Lavia looks quality. I mean, Man City's getting rid of him for Phillips. I think they regret that, if I'm honest. I think they'd rather have Lavia in their holding midfield, but he looks very good. James Ward-Prowse, you mentioned. Kyle Walker-Peters, very good player. Of
course, our own Maitland-Niles is there, but he won't play against us.
Maitland-Niles is still there. So I think they've got some good players, but I really feel at home against Southampton, and that's a 3 points, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it must be. They've lost some bad games this season, Southampton, and that naivety has shone through in their game. And I think that along with the home games we've got coming up with Leeds yet tomorrow, I think they're the two I would say out of all of our fixtures left. I'm quite confident that we can get 6 points out of those two. But football's a funny game, man.
And of course, we end the month against Chelsea at home. Now, traditionally, we do pretty well against Chelsea at home. But I have to say, and listen, it's only a few games, but Chelsea are starting to show signs that they might be recovering some of the form that people would expect them to show. I mean, because let's face it, they've got some quality players in that squad. They've not been performing to expectation. However, as I said, in the last couple of games or so, they look like they're a little bit more like their old selves. And of course, they have been beset by injuries. Some of those guys are coming back. That could well be a very difficult game. London derby, of course, as well.
Listen, when evidence suggests when you spend that much money, one day it will click. Doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
True.
One day it will click. Let's just hope it ain't the day when they come to the Emirates. They've got some players that can hurt us, Laurie. They've got players from old, the Sterlings and people like that, but they've also now got the Mudriks and the João Felixes. I think Enzo Fernandez looks unbelievable, by the way. I really like that footballer. He looks fantastic. But I don't think that people are giving enough stick to Chelsea in a way, because people are saying they're back now. Yeah, they're looking like they've got signs that they're becoming better, but I'd not say they're back, if I'm honest. Be very disappointed if we throw points away against them, because I do think they can be got at,
Be an interesting game, because of course you mentioned him. Mudryk will probably play, or feature, and he was a guy that was heavily linked with Arsenal. We all know what happened in the end. He's shown flashes of potential, but if you're Mudryk and you rock up at Arsenal, you're thinking, yeah man, I'm going to show these guys, what I'm all about. So that could be a very interesting dynamic.
It's mad, isn't it? Because he's the one everyone's going to look at. He was the one everyone looked at the other night when we watched England. But I do think it's a strange one for me about the emotions of this whole situation, because for me it's a positive that we got Trossard in. I honestly be very surprised if there's any Arsenal fans out there that are disappointed that we got Trossard instead of Mudryk. I think the disappointment was that we couldn't get our plan A target. And that was what frustrated Arsenal fans. Yes, he went to Chelsea. Yes, we got we wanted him and we didn't get him. But I think it was the fact that we went for him and Caicedo and ended up with Trossard and Jorginho, who both come in, who were our plan Bs. It wasn't they're rubbish in comparison. It was they weren't the number one targets. So I can understand why Arsenal fans felt frustrated by that. But Mudryk was going to take time to settle in. He weren't going to be this £90 million that then went and scored 15, 16 goals for the remainder of the season. He was going to need time embedded in. The reason the Trossard signing has been so good is because he's previously proven, don't need no time to gel. He's walked into that side, can play across the front three, which I'm not so sure Mudryk can do, and he's been an unbelievable signing for us, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Trossard's come in and it's been seamless. It's a seamless transition with him because he's come in, he knows what the Premier League's about. He's playing, with respect to Brighton, he's playing in a better team, and we're seeing the benefits of that. Just before we get people on, I've got a super chat here from Xanthi. He says, "Hi guys, I watched the Comeback Stronger doc on Gabriel Jesus. It got me super excited. Would love to see him start the game tomorrow, and that would really get the fans up for it." What's your thoughts on Gabriel Jesus coming back?
I'm buzzing that he's back, mate. I think we have missed him, and I think we've done well so far to get by. What I will say about it is I do think they're going to mould him in, and I'll be surprised if they throw him in for a start. I think Trossard deserves to stay in that side at the moment. I think it would be harsh to get rid of Trossard, but Jesus is going to play a huge part, not just in this game tomorrow, but throughout the rest of the season, and he will get back into that first team, mate. He will. Yeah.
No, I agree with you, and it's interesting because we're hearing that Eddie could soon be back. So then the manager's presented with what I call a good problem, because you've got a number of strikers basically fighting it out for a first team place, which is great. Right, okay, so I'm being told by our technical team that we've got some callers on the line, so let's see what we got. Wilson.
Hello guys, how you doing?
How you doing, Wilson?
How are you?
I'm good. It's been such a long time, Laurie. I've been itching to see you, and it's great to see us seen like face to face.
Hey, appreciate that, bro. Enough respect.
And great to see you too, Dan. Oh, I love
nice to meet you, Wilson.
You're such a passionate fan.
Thank you, my guy. Appreciate that, bro.
I think everyone knows that Arsenal have been absolutely brilliant this season. Our football has been incredible. It's shown so much character, mentality, resilience, time after time after time. Remember the Man City game? We've lost at the Emirates. We bounced back. The Everton defeat, we bounced back. Like, we bounced back each time because of our massive mentality. And also, I feel like the title is Arsenal's to lose. I'll tell you why. Because we're in brilliant form, great attacking players. Defensively, my word, we were solid. Ramsdale has been immense. The defence, again, immense. Odegaard, pulling the strings and everything, and Partey as well. I think he said something, Dan, which is quite significant, that without Partey, we're not the same. We're not the same completely. I mean, because if we lose to Liverpool as well, particularly against Liverpool, I'm not convinced about Rob Holding. We know how Liverpool are, despite their poor season. We've got to be careful of them as well, and Leeds. So I think it's Arsenal's to lose. We've got to keep our momentum going, and also got something else to say. Some of these pundits, man, tell you now, they've been like, they said, "Oh, Arsenal are going to bottle it in this game and this game and this game." What did they do? They were wrong each and every time. We're 8 points clear, people. We're top of the league. And they've been doubting us, and we're still top. So what have we got to say now, guys? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry for my rant, guys. I had to get off my chest.
No. It's a great call. It's a great call. What I would say before I hand over to Dan is that your choice of phrase there, "ours to lose," is one that I've also been using. I do think it's ours to lose, and I do think that as long as we stay focused, which is not going to be easy. There's some difficult games coming up. I personally do think we will hold on and get the title. Now, Dan, is there anything?
Listen, I think it's a great call, Wilson, and big up yourself, man. And I will say there's two parts to this for me. The first part I agree with in terms of the mentality of this side, bouncing back. You talk about the games, but actually, when you deep it, we've actually bounced back in individual games as well. When we've gone 1 goal down, when we saw against Bournemouth going 2 goals down. Unbelievable, exactly, Villa. So we've turned those games around, and we've shown that we have the mentality to be able to bounce back and show that bounce back ability. And I think the second part is something I've said a long time now, is the media pundits. They do not want to give us credit. It seems like they're just expecting us to go on this unbelievable downward spiral and crumble. And I don't think anybody's sort of talked about what happens if that doesn't happen. And also what they haven't given enough credit for is what happens if Man City crumble. There's just this absolute acceptance. There seems this acceptance that Man City are not going to lose any games. Now, I actually think both Arsenal and Manchester City will drop points, because with 10 games left, I think naturally that will probably happen. But it seems like it's when are Arsenal going to drop points, not Man City. It's all Man City going to win these 10, and then what ones are Arsenal going to drop to? And I think that's foolish, man.
Could I just play a bit of devil's advocate? And I'm not doing this to wind you guys up.
Here we go.
I'm just trying to look at things from another perspective. So, Wilson, you have said that yes, a lot of the pundits and fans from other clubs are saying, yeah, Arsenal are going to bottle it, they're going to implode. But we have to also be honest and say, in previous years, when the pressure's been on, we have faltered. So, in a way, I can understand some people doubting Arsenal, because previous form has shown that we have unfortunately imploded. So
even last season as well.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to mention that.
The way to get into the top 4 and we threw it away. So I do understand to a certain extent of what the pundits are saying. And I feel like this will take a massive collapse for Arsenal to throw it away. We potentially have to drop or lose 4 or 5 games to allow City to be in.
What I was going to say was this year, obviously, things are looking very different, and you can trace it back to even when we had the minor blips at Everton and games like that. We bounced back quite strong, so that is why I'm confident that the implosion is not going to happen this year. But carry on, Wilson.
Yeah, as I was saying, because as I said, I think it has to take us like 4 or 5 games for City to overtake us. The way we're playing this season, but however, we need to be careful as well. For me, there are 3 games that I'm wary about. Liverpool away. Already said this a few moments ago. Despite Liverpool's poor season, they still got quality players who can hurt us. So we've got to be careful with that. 2, the Manchester City game. That's a big game for me, because we can't afford to lose that game. And then there's one game in particular which I'm still hurting from, is Newcastle away. That's the team that I'm worried about, because they're a good side, decent form. St James's Park, it's mad. The atmosphere is mad.
Well, they did beat us there last season, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I believe that was the team that cost us Champions League football. So we got to be. I think Newcastle's a massive game as well.
It is.
So we've got to be careful with that, because Newcastle could be fighting for top 4, potentially Liverpool as well. So for me, in those 3 games, if we can get good results in those 3 games and win the rest of them, there's absolutely no doubt on my mind we'll win the league. No doubt.
I love your confidence, bro. But we're going to have to wind it up there, because we do have a number of other callers. But listen, Wilson, thank you very much for your call. You made some great points. Love the energy, and you must call back soon.
Big up, Wilson.
Big yourself up, bro. Respect.
Take care, man.
Okay, Laurie, we have Jay up next.
We got Jay up next. Jay?
Hey. Big up, Jay. How you doing, mate?
How you doing? Can you guys see me today properly?
Yeah.
All good,
we
man.
can see you. Yeah.
Okay, I was on here about a month ago, and I had to end because it was just like the internet was just causing me problems.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it looks a lot better today. Okay,
cool. Well, we're business end, guys. 10 games to go. It's coming down to just the wire now. And there's like Wilson just said, there's 3 games that I look at. I think it could be difficult. Liverpool away, Man City, and Newcastle away. Let's not forget, we haven't beaten Liverpool there for how long?
Yeah.
I don't even know the last time we beat them.
Although I would say that the Liverpool will be coming up against this season are not quite as formidable as they have been in previous years. We are a lot better than we were last year, so that counts for something. I would have thought. Yeah,
definitely. But what I would say is that nobody wants us to win the league except for our own fans. Nobody wants us to win the league. Pundits, other managers, other teams, other fans. Nobody wants us to win. And it's just like Dan was just saying. Nobody talks about Man City dropping points, slipping up, injuries. They always say, "Oh, Arsenal, they'll lose points. They'll slip up here. You could lose to these games." It's always just like pushing them to the side. It's Man City, they'll win. They'll win everything. We gotta just prove them wrong, for the first time in 20 years, 18 years.
So why do you think that is then? You've said that you, in your opinion, fans and pundits don't want Arsenal to win the league. Now, that may or may not be true. Why do you think that is true?
Well, it's just me being a funny fan. I could just be wrong, but I mean, from what I've seen, it's just maybe because no one expected us to win it in the way we did. We're not signing, Bellingham, Haaland, Mbappe. We're signing sensible players to get, throughout. And we missed out on 2 big targets in January, which I think now we can say maybe we didn't miss out too badly because of Trossard and Jorginho doing their bit. But I feel like the biggest reason why other fans just don't want to see it is because they're like, no, they've been terrible for years. Just keep them there. No, they're quiet. Keep them down there. But we're a big club. We're a huge club, and it's just like I've never seen us win the league. I'm still young. I've never seen us win the league, and I've seen us get close. Leicester year, I've seen us get close, but I think it's just because no one expected us to be in this position now. Neither did I. I was thinking top 4 minimum.
Yeah, I must admit I didn't see this coming. I'm not going to be.
No.
Try and be wise after the event, and so I didn't even see a serious title run. If I'm being honest, my expectation for this season was top 4. Dan, what are you the same? Or
listen, of course we were, man. I think everybody was the same. I think everyone expected top 4 to go in for a title race. Is something I always wanted and dreamed of, and I never thought we were going to kind of get that from what we'd seen the last few seasons. But what I would say is let people hate on Arsenal. Honestly, Jay, just let people hate on us because we're relevant again. Richard Keys, let him cry. Let Jamie O'Hara keep crying. Let Gary Neville be wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm really hoping is all of them come, because none of them will come out and say they were. None of them will come out and say, "Well done, Arsenal." They'll just move on to the next season and say, "What can they do now? Can they retain it?" So we're never going to get love from those people, and it's just the way it is, man. It's just facts. I actually quite like it. It's quite funny because we're relevant again and we're up there, and people hate the fact we're up there and they're jealous of it. Some of them, So that's what I will say. It's interesting you mentioned the Anfield game. A lot of people are looking at that one. For me, we have to get past Leeds first, of course, but the last time we beat Liverpool at Anfield, I believe, was 2012 when we had Santi Cazorla and Podolski at the side. So that's how long ago it was. So it's or it might have been 13-14 season actually, but it was a long time ago is what I'm getting at. So we need to go and the records are there to be broken, man. So let's make sure we can go and do it up at Anfield as well.
And just before I let you go, I do agree with you, by the way. The reason, and a lot of these guys, the pundits, are coming out and saying Arsenal, is because they didn't see it coming. So they would be forced to say, oh gosh, we totally got taken by surprise. And for some of them, I guess that's too much for them to admit to. But yeah, listen, bro, thanks very much for your call.
Big up, Jay.
Appreciate that.
Always.
And you must call back soon. Appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. See you guys.
Take care, mate.
Who we got on the line? Elliot on the line. Looking forward to hear what he has to say. Here he is in his
big up, Elliot. How you doing?
I'm well. Dan, great to finally meet you, sir. Laurie is already used to the Laurie's already used to the Canada Thai experience, so let's just move on with this. But yeah, listen, great to be back. Great to be back with the people. Great to be back on the pitch again tomorrow. And it's time to go get this title. You know what I mean?
So, do you just subscribe to the notion of 10 cup finals?
I absolutely do. There's nothing else in our way. There's no other distractions in front of us. 10 cup titles until we get what we want, and that is the title, and then leave 80% of the Premier League fan base's egg on their face.
How challenging do you think? How challenging do you think April's going to be with the Man City game and the Liverpool game and that Chelsea game in there as well? Or are you confident?
There's no doubt it's going to be. I'm sorry, Lauren. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I have no doubt that we will indeed face it, especially when it comes to Man City. I'm really hoping that Saliba will be back for that match, and hopefully for Liverpool as well. But with Chelsea, it's a case of, listen, they're rebuilding, they're renewing. They have some good players there, but if we are on song, we should be beating them at the end of the day. Listen, we have to have an air of confidence. We have to have an air of superiority here, guys. Nobody wins without that confidence behind them. And for us to feel inferior to these teams is behind us. That was so last year. And we need to have an idea that yes, indeed, that these are matches that that need our full and undivided attention. But at the end of the day, if we play our game, we should be within those games, drawing those games, or winning those title tilts that we have with said teams.
I've got to ask you: are you concerned at the injury to Saliba? And of course, we've heard about knocks to Tierney and Partey. Are you worried that the Saliba injury could prove quite costly?
Again, it depends on how serious it really is. I mean, I know our physio team is getting to work, and I know our doctors are, daily monitoring, Mr. Saliba, and with hope that, he'll be able to get back at least for, some serious tilts with the run-in coming up. However, listen, it's going to be a worry, absolutely. But listen, this is the reason why we have Rob Holding. No matter what you think about him, and Lord knows I don't have full trust in him, but he's here for a reason. Arteta seems to trust him, so we have to throw our backing behind him and say, hey, listen, we got a few matches that we need for you to do work for us, and it is hope that you can do that. But other than that, what we can, all we can do is sit back or get on our knees, pray that that Mr. Holding can move, get put on that Alice band of his and do the work that we ask him to do.
And let's not forget Dan as well. I'll bring Dan in here. We got Kivior, who shown potential. Okay, in that game, that one game he had, he was looking good, and then we conceded that goal. A few people said that he was at fault for the goal, but it would appear all the talk is that he's done well in training and he's impressed people. So he might be one we might look at.
I think he's impressed people with his pace. I mean, wow, the kid looks absolutely rapid. I must say, he absolutely does. But I think as a less-sided centre-back, I don't think he would get the nod ahead of Rob Holding in this game. No. But obviously, he's brought him in there for a reason. Mikel Arteta and Edu have seen something in him. I was really encouraged by his performances and the comments that Lewandowski was talking about, saying that this kid looks, I didn't know who he was, but he's come into the side. He looks great now, and that sounds good. But I'm with Elliot. I think that Mikel Arteta will put his faith in Rob Holding for this game, and I think that that's what we've got to believe in our squad for, and I think Mikel Arteta will do that. I just hope that Rob Holding, has a good game and doesn't slip up, because I do think that he deserves to play tomorrow. I really do.
I do remember, guys, this team is totally new from last year. You have Benjamin White on the right side to help out, and he's been immense this year. So and also you have Thomas Partey in front of him. So guys, it's not as if it's like the run-in last year where we are missing key parts to, and we were basically, floundering to the end of the season. I think this year we're much more well-stocked, and we used the January transfer window well, even though we didn't get our true targets, but still we got targets that have proven to be immense for us thus far. And, and you have to go with the narrow confidence saying, listen, Partey's not injured. Let's leave that as it is. But even so, you have Jorginho at the back there who can help out. Yes, he may not be so mobile, but he's got it up here, and we bore witness to that. And it's an air of confidence. It's like having insurance on your car. Yes, you may get into an accident, but you're going to still drive. Why? Because hey, you're covered. Come on, guys. Let's make it relax here. Let's make it relax. Let's be honest with ourselves and trust, as they say, the process.
I like your optimism. And we're going to, on that note, we're going to leave that there. But listen, thank you very much, Elliot. He's the last
Laurie, always good to see you. Always good to see you. Dan, don't be a stranger, buddy. And good luck on your channel as well. I know it's doing big things. And again, all the success in the world to you, buddy.
Thanks a lot, Elliot. Lovely to meet you, man. Take care, bro.
Enough respect.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, then. So that's our calls for today. Was that
it? Last call, or that was, yeah.
Yeah, good call. Elliot's always calls him, man.
Great calls. All three were great calls.
I just want to a super chat here from Diallo. He's having a little pop at me. I don't know. Maybe. He's saying, Laurie, apologise to Eddie. He was injured indeed. Now Eddie's not featured for a few weeks. What's your thoughts on Eddie? Because he's not won over all the fan base. And before I ask you that as well, I've never had a pop at Eddie. I've always supported.
Listen,
so I want to make that clear. But anyway.
Nah, fair play to you. Listen, you got to support Eddie because he's part of the squad. I will say this, I don't think anybody expected him to come in with those performances towards the back end of last season. I think everybody was frustrated when they saw what they saw from Eddie towards the games that he did play in the League Cup games and the Europa League games. And I think as well this season, for me anyway, he scored goals. You know, he has scored goals. What I will say is that if you're looking at who do I prefer out of Trossard, Eddie and Gabriel Jesus, he comes third on that list. Because I believe off the ball, Trossard and Jesus do a lot more. And I think although he's improved his strength and his off the ball stuff, and he's definitely developed as a player, Eddie Nketiah, I feel like we have more link up play from Saka and Martinelli when Jesus and Trossard play. And that's the only thing I can say bad about Eddie, if I'm honest with you, because I don't want to start slating him. It does frustrate me when he misses some chances, but so does Gabriel Jesus, by the way. He misses chances also. So it's always pile on Eddie when he misses a chance. And I don't think that's always fair. I did give him a little bit of criticism last season in parts because I just didn't feel like he was good enough, but I feel like he's proved a lot of people wrong. I don't think that shirt number and the 100k a week has been heavy for him. I don't think you look at that and think, wow, what the hell have we done here? This was a huge mistake. I don't think it was maybe the right decision for some fans, but I don't also look at that and think what a shocking decision that was. I don't think Eddie Nketiah will be a part of this squad and will look at him and think you're completely out of place, mate. So I don't think he deserves some of the criticism he's got. I'll tell you this, he always gives 110%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always looked at players like Alex Iwobi, Danny Welbeck. You looked at them players over the past and thought, they're not Thierry Henry and they're not Robert Pires, but they'll give 110%. Yeah. And I always like players like that, and he fits into that category for me.
Very good point, well made. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Listen, I may have criticised Eddie occasionally for perhaps not converting a chance that I think a player of his ability should have done. However, I think if you go back and look at my record and my comments on Eddie, I've always been quite supportive of him, even when other Arsenal fans, not yourself, Dan, have not been so. So, yeah, I don't quite know where that come from, but I want to make it clear that I have been an advocate for Eddie. I have supported him. And listen, I hope he comes back to the team very soon and continues to contribute to do his thing and help us win the title, which I'm sure is going to happen. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Right, we're going to wind the show up. Been great having you on, Dan. I just want to ask you about tomorrow's game. I did ask you about the game, but I don't think I asked you your scoreline.
No.
Prediction. So it would be remiss of me to finish without asking you that. What do you think the score will be and why?
3-1 Arsenal.
3-1?
Why? Yeah, why? Because we don't keep clean sheets at home. And I'm not so sure that'll be any different. I don't know why that is. People keep asking, everybody I keep hearing, why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? I can only put it down to us being maybe a little bit more naive, a little bit more gung-ho.
Could be a little lapse of concentration.
Lapse of concentration, but I also think, and this is a mad thing to say as a negative, but the atmosphere at the Emirates is like no other I've ever seen, right? Any other season at Highbury and Emirates, these last 2 seasons has been the best atmosphere I've seen. And I think sometimes that intensity can allow the players to get a little bit excited and forget sometimes that they're trying to keep clean sheets. They're not always trying to score. It's the only thing I can think in my head. I'm not saying that's facts. Our away form, it's been a lot more controlled and composed as performances. Sometimes at home, even against Palace, we couldn't keep a clean sheet and they look terrible. So I think for me, it's going to be a 3-1 victory. I do think that we're going to get an early goal and that'll open up the doors for us. And Leeds will just have to come at us and be caught on the break a couple of times by Arsenal. I just think the front three at the moment is too good not to score goals. So let's hope I don't eat my words and that we can get some goals against Leeds tomorrow.
It's interesting that point you do make there about playing away from home and playing at home, the differences. I do believe you, actually. I do agree with you. There is a mindset thing there, isn't there? So it could be that when we're at home, we're thinking a little bit more expansively and we're going for the goals, whereas when you're away from home, you're naturally a little bit more cautious. Yes, sometimes you go away from home, it's almost like you are the home team because the team will give you the ball, but I do understand where you're coming from. There is a slight difference in the approach, but yeah, interesting. For me, I'm going 2 clear goals. I'm going 2-0. I'm looking at Leeds and I do believe that those injuries that they have will hamper them, and they have had trouble scoring goals this season, let's be honest, and I do think that tomorrow we're at home. Everybody said we're in that home straight, 10 games to go. This is a massive game, and I think that the energy and the approach and the vibe is going to be such that Arsenal will get the win. So I'm going 2-0 Arsenal tomorrow. We're both predicted a win. Let's hope we're right.
I hope you're right and I'm wrong, because I like the clean sheet, man. I can't lie.
Yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, as long as you get the win, that is the main thing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Just before we go, I've got another super chat here. I'll be interested to hear what you got to say on this one, Dan. He says, it's from Waleed, and he says, Laurie, Dan, what is one football opinion you gave that turned out to be an absolute howler? Arteta does not count.
Listen,
Arteta does not count. Over the years.
Arteta does not count. I'll tell you one. Nacho Monreal. When we signed him, I thought it was a bit of a weak link. And when we got Cazorla, I thought, has he just brought his mate from Malaga along? Because we need a left back. I remember him coming on. I thought, wow, he doesn't look too good. And I think he turned out to be one of our most consistent performances at the Emirates. I really did like him as a left back in the end. And I thought that his mentality, and he had some leadership qualities. He could play free at the back, at left back as well. At one stage, I remember against Hull and a few other games, he played at left centre back, and he was really good there. I think he's a player that completely proved me wrong, and there's been many times where I've been wrong in football. A lot of people are, in terms of their opinions that can change. Arteta being one of them. And I think maybe if I was to pick one more, it would potentially be, I mean, they've still got to prove it, but potentially the ownership. I think when the Cronkies have become total ownership, we're now starting to see them care a lot more about the club. And there's a great term that Clive from Arsenal Vision used, which I loved, which was, if you rent your house, you only clean the windows, you don't refurbish it.
Interesting.
And when you have total ownership of your property, you start to look at the lounge and the bathroom and the kitchen and do it up. And I think now we're starting to see the Cronkies refurbish our house, mate.
Good analogy. For me, I've made howlers. I'm not going to be afraid to admit that. But one that I'm going to admit to is going to sound a little bit awry. When we signed Zinchenko, myself and my brother Robbie have got into a little bit of an argument. He'll probably remember this as well. When I was saying that Zinchenko, whilst a good signing, was not one that excited me. Okay. I did actually use that term, and I was saying that somebody like Jed Spence, who he was also in for at that time, would have excited me more. And the reason why I said that is because Jed Spence, if you remember, it tormented us last season when he played for Forest against Arsenal in the Cup. Yeah. And he looked the real deal. And he really looked exciting, pace, skill, power, looked like potential goal-scoring threat as well. And when we signed Zinchenko, I kind of looked at it like, was this City letting one of their players go that they probably think had fulfilled their expectation at City, might be on the slight decline, so they're allowing Arsenal to come in and get him. And now look, Zinchenko is one of our main players. So I've got to admit that was a bit of a howler.
Sometimes you got to, haven't you? You got to put your hands up and say you got it wrong, and
I was just being honest at the time. I never denigrated Zinchenko. I never said he was a poor player or he weren't very good. I was just saying that the Jed Spence signing would excite me more. However, I've got to say, in hindsight, with the way Zinchenko's been this season, he's been outstanding. And in fact, he's been one of our main players, our go-to players. So obviously, you know, in retrospect, that's what I said about Zinchenko doesn't look good for me. But hey, it was said in good faith, so it is what it is.
Fair play to you, man.
Another super chat here is from Waleed again. He said, don't worry, Laurie, it's nowhere bad as Robbie and Lee judges wanting Richarlison over Jesus.
Oh my, is that serious? Is that for real?
Well, according to Waleed, it's true.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. I never would have wanted that, man. Yeah. Never would have wanted that. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It is crazy.
I'll have to take that up with them too when I see them next tomorrow. But yeah. But listen, bro, we've got to wind it up there. Listen, thanks so much for coming on. Really enjoyed your company. Appreciated your vast knowledge on Arsenal and all things football. You must come in again very soon. Got to do another show. Do another show together soon, man. So enough respect. Thanks everybody out there for interacting with the show, submitting your super chats, those guys who rang in, the callers, excellent calls as always, thank you very much. Everybody out there watching the show, keep supporting, we really do appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, keep it AFTV, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
This Saturday on DR Sports, we've got a massive watch-along. It's the comeback fight with Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin.
Can AJ revive his career, or will this be his early retirement?
We're hoping not. Join us on Saturday with the team and check out the big watch-along here on DR Sports. This Sunday is the Australian Grand Prix. I'm going to be there. We've also got Joe, we've got Matisse and Abby, and it's going to be brilliant. You guys going to be waking up in time?
I'm ready. Set the alarm already, mate. Let's go. Let's go.
Set your alarms for Sunday. It's the big one, the Australian GP, here on On Track GP.